That's probably true now, but I think it was
correct.
It was blue when I started it, for sure.
I know your house more than you do. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to For the Minions, the weekly show where we talk about Predecessor, Overprime, and Ethereal. I'm your host, the Mangoose. Joining me, as always, is my friend and co-host, Jelly Knees. How you doing, Jelly?
I mean, I think Mangoose just put a prime case up for himself to sing his own songs from now on.
Oh, no, you still got to sing that song I wrote.
I'm fantastic, Mangoose. I just got a new kitten, and I can't wait to play with her and, you know, be a new kitten owner. So, yeah, but with us as well is the TheVikingJedi. Welcome, Viking.
What's up?
That's all you got?
Sorry, wait, sorry. Let me do this one more time.
Oh, okay.
With us is our friend and co-host TheVikingJedi.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I like the singing part. That's pretty fun. No, I'm doing super good. It feels weird doing it tonight than instead of yesterday. But you know, we're here. You know, somebody had to go out of town, you know, and go do other stuff and not be here.
You.
Yeah, both of you, motherfucker.
Oh,
you also canceled yesterday, so don't even be throwing shade at Jelly.
Yeah, but he canceled first.
Got him. Technically,
I
you
don't
canceled
give
first.
up.
You sent the message, and then I said, "By the way, yeah, I'm not going to be there either."
No, but we knew you were going out of town
Yeah,
for
I
the
don't know
whole
what to tell you,
weekend.
dude. On Friday when you sent the
okay.
message, you sent it first, and then I sent it afterwards. So
I'm the only dependable one. Let's move on to Predecessor. So,
Speaking of dependability.
so Predecessor. What we're waiting for right now, there has been a lot of news out of. We're waiting for is Revenant. Revenant is supposedly going to be added this week. A lot of people are thinking Wednesday. This is just speculation. They haven't. Did they say it was going to be this week, or did?
no, this week is just a month from the last patch.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe Countess came out on the 18th of December, so the 18th of January is Wednesday. So people are assuming that'll be the same.
I like Taboo's idea. You should have just RP'd as both me and Jelly and did the show by yourself.
Yes,
That would have been hilarious.
I can do it.
I think you could, actually. I think we have enough mannerisms that you could bounce it off of. But what would be key is getting your own mannerisms right. Because are you observant enough of yourself? That would be the key.
I don't know if I can really do either of you, because the thought of sucking a dick just weirds me out, man.
That doesn't stop you from doing it.
Angus would just always be himself because
For the
he's
bit.
just the guy who randomly yells things and doesn't know names. So that's his mannerism. Is he just needs to randomly yell and forget the names of things.
All right, so let's talk about Revenant here.
I'm excited.
A lot of people are excited for Revenant. I'm personally pretty excited for him. Do you think he's going to change Predecessor up a whole hell of a lot, though, or is it just going to be?
I think that'll be dependent on his kit.
Yeah, that's what that's what I was thinking, Jelly.
Honestly, I hope his E is a completely different ability. His E, even Paragon in Overprime, has just felt like one of those abilities that I just don't care about.
It's a pain in the ass. It interrupts the rest of his kit.
Yeah, I throw my E and then I basic attack, but it's a lock-on ability, so why not just make it a basic attack modifier if that's what it's going to be? Right? Because then I still have to land my basics within the time that it's on there, so it's not going to make any difference. It's just this added randomness of like, well, we didn't want to make it just a basic attack modifier, but so we're going to make it apply on an enemy, and then it's a basic attack modifier. Yeah. Right? Like it's the same thing with extra steps. So I would love to see his E be changed to something else.
I want to see him more skill shot focused.
Yes, 100%. And his passive is probably going to be his crit or some equivalent thereof of his right click, and that's going to be intermixed with his passive. But yeah, his E is the biggest thing I want to see changed. There's nothing like his Q. There's nothing like Obliterate in Predecessor right now. So that'll be a great ability to have in there. His ultimate, taking you to the Shadow Realm, that has to be in there. Right?
I think that's the only ability that has to be.
That and his four shot mechanic. So those are the two things that make Revenant.
I'm okay without the 4 shots, but I think his ultimate has to be there. Okay, not that I hate the 4-shot, by the way. I'm not saying that I'm like,
all you Revenant mains, he hates 4-shot. Get out.
Yeah, that common Viking take there. No, I don't hate it. I'm okay if they innovate it and do something different to make it feel different and more modern. Because I think we could have made some of those same arguments for some of the other changes that they made, like with some of the Decker stuff, but like them moving her ultimate off of to a basic ability and making a whole new ultimate, to me, I think that can be. Why are you laughing so hard?
Can you imagine if they took Shadow Realm and put it on a basic ability?
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Every 10 seconds, you're like, and the Shadow Realm, like
just canceling everything out.
Oh, I thought you were laughing at JTab saying that my mom takes more than 4 shots. Thanks, JTab. Appreciate you, dude. Anyway, I could see them doing something else with the kit in those regards. I do agree that E is probably the most boring of the abilities. It kind of only makes sense in Overprime in the sense that it kind of gives you some tank busting because it does percentage health damage. But you don't really... I don't think you feel it enough for it to be a fun clickable ability. So I do hope that Predecessor does something to make them feel more exciting. But even if they keep the kit just as is, right, as we know it, and fairly similar, maybe some numbers, and do something with his passive that they like to do, I think he's going to shake up the meta dramatically. Not only because I think he can theoretically be played in off lane because his ultimate gives him some sense of safety in gank situations, 2v1 type situations. I think just the way that his whole kit plays in the duo lane as well is really going to force teams to have to think about the game in a whole different way. Like, ulting junglers, if you do come in for a gank, okay, well, you're 4 levels below me. You need those other 2 guys. I can take you into the Shadow Realm, get all of you. It's everything that we know about Revenant. So I think he's going to ultimately change the way that people play the game. Just the idea of him being in the game and possibly picked is going to make people like hesitate, I think, of what champions they might lock in because of the threat of him.
I can't wait for all the toxicity to show up on Revenant.
Oh, of course.
When he on his release, purely because he's gonna ult somebody 100-0 them, and then they're gonna type, "Why didn't you help me, bro? What did you want me to do?" Like, I stood there and waited for your little shadow to come back, and it never did.
I think what's more likely is he's gonna ult somebody that's already dead to rights, miss the kill, and then you're gonna be pissed off that he took your.
Oh yeah,
I mean that's what happens in Overprime. That's what happened in Paragon over and over again. That's a Revenant hallmark right there.
Yep. Big truths.
Make obliterate prioritize heroes over minions. I like that actually.
I like that. Like as a Revenant player, I would love that because then it just makes obliterate much easier to land. Mm-hmm. But I think part of the skill expression of obliterate is the fact that it just randomly selects targets for however many targets are there compared to how many bullets there are. Right. So it makes you prioritize using obliterate when there's fewer targets around. So then all of those shots land directly on the person you're trying to kill. And it also creates a go button for Revenant. If you're both standing in your minion waves and he's got obliterate ready to go, he wants to clear those minions out and obliterate and clear those minions out and obliterate. So then he's got a clear cut engage mechanic, but the enemy also has a clear cut disengage mechanic of they know I've only got 1 minion left. He hasn't used obliterate in a while. This is my moment. I need to back out for a few seconds and wait. Otherwise, I'm just going to take full obliterate damage. Like, to me, the skill expression of the ability is worth the lack of prioritization of heroes. I'd rather see higher damage and more skill expression rather than less skill expression and lower damage. Because if you make it prioritize heroes, it's going to have to be lower damage overall. Otherwise, it's just too strong comparatively.
I think I would be more in line with like prioritizing if like you've landed something else. Like, so let's say they keep the E or some kind of version of E that you throw E, then if you Q that it will prioritize. But and maybe you can adjust the numbers still, obviously for the same reason that Jelly described. But I don't think I would like it just passively that it prioritizes champions. I think that it does remove some of the skill expression. I think it also removes some of the outplayability when Rev basically, in my opinion, is one of the most like I pick when I want to do stuff to you. You don't always get to pick when you get to do stuff to me, especially post 6. And so I think that's Yeah, you need to have, like, when you have these, like, you know, crazy scaling and crazy, like, skill expressive, you also have to have on the opposite side the ability to outplay them, or, you know, be able to use their kit against them to an extent. And so I think having the obliterate go to random targets, especially in team fights and stuff like that too, like, you know, there's nothing worse than being in a team fight and there's minions around and you hit obliterate and it doesn't go to any of the guys that you're focusing. Yeah. But you know, hey, don't take a team fight with minion waves around, I guess, you know, be better. I don't know.
I mean, that was always the way with Revenant. Yeah, it was just wait until you can have somebody isolated. And I kind of wonder if that's going to have an effect on the way that Predecessor is played right now, because right now everything in a team fight is sort of AoE based, and you want to be spread out somewhat. You don't want to be close to anybody, because like Chimera's ultimate is AoE. Gideon's ultimate is very strong. The Phase ultimate is super strong. There's a lot of AoE stuff that makes you want to separate. But if his Q is really strong, then as a support, you're going to stick close to your ADC so you can split that Q damage a little bit. I don't know if it'll have that much of an effect on how the game is played, but it might. Depends on how strong his Q is.
Yeah, I'd be perfectly okay if you make his E a skill shot, and then if his E lands on a hero, or whoever his E lands on, obliterate prioritizes that target. I think that is a good way to make his E more interesting. One, that it's a skill shot and not just a lock-on automatic.
Sure.
And it also is a follow-up ability. I use this example from Ethereal, but Noxus. Noxus is root, and then her R, which is her lightbound portal, right, sends the little light shards out at people. If you land your root first, the lightbound shards are guaranteed to hit targets or hit multiple targets. Whereas if you don't land the root, it only hits one target. Like, it's that follow-up comboing of abilities, I think, is a cool idea. It could make his E more interesting by association of his Q.
I agree. I mean, and I think it's big doinks in hand. What if bullets mark enemies that he wants to obliterate or to shoot, like, as part of their passive that they might come? I think that's fine. Like, if you land, like, I don't know,
all marks an enemy for 3 seconds, and then
something like that, I think would be cool. Yeah, I think that there's ways to do it to where it's not going to be as oppressive, but still have that skill expression. But yeah, I'll be really, really excited if they go completely off the rails and do something super random that we're not expecting. I think I'll be stoked about that. I mean, I'm stoked for him to come in the game, even if he is just as is. But if they come up with some really cool, unique ways of having him still keep his identity, right, and make him still feel like Revenant, but bring him into 2023 and make him completely unique and feel almost like a fully realized, their own IP almost, I think that would be a lot more interesting and would keep people more interested, because you're not going to just have like the old heads come into Paragon that are coming from Paragon and understand Revenant's kit and understand the nuances of him and be able to just immediately shit on new players who are wanting to explore, that carry. Having them have to somewhat learn a little bit of the kit in a new way would be super, super fun and interesting. And I think it would make the champion more interesting and a way more fun launch, in my opinion.
If they could come up with a way to explain why his revolver is a revolver but has 4 barrels but only shoots 4 shots. Why do you need 4 barrels if you have a revolving cylinder and it only shoots 4 shots?
Revolve, man, goose. Gosh,
the barrels don't. I don't get it.
I think if I had to tinfoil hat theory this, as I do very often, I doubt the kit has changed very much. Probably. One, because I think Revenant fans would be upset if the kit changed too far. And 2, because I think they would have shown us more of the kit before his release if it was drastically different.
Like they did with Decker.
Yeah. I doubt they suddenly, like, they launch him and say, by the way, his entire kit's different, and like surprise everybody with that. Maybe they do. I mean, I would say I'm hopeful that they do, but I doubt it based on previous iterations of how they've done releases. And just, I think the community in general could go 50-50 on that. And it's just a risk you don't have to take. Rather than releasing it early, letting them simmer down, and then he comes out.
Yeah, I don't know. I was expecting to see a lot more about him by now. They did like make a post and stuff. It's not like they're resting on their laurels and not doing anything, but just I expected to see a little bit more. I'm not bitching about it. Just
also, we say this all now, knowing that they're going to post it literally 2 hours from now.
I know, right?
Right. Yeah. It'll come out in the morning or something like that. Yeah.
And even now they're watching this going, great idea.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't do this last night because Overprime in the middle of the night released that roadmap video.
We
So
already
fucking
covered though what they went over.
yeah, kind of, pretty much, yeah.
So are you guys equally for me? Like, I feel like he could be an offlaner. Do you think that still fits the pred idea? Because so far, none of the carries really feel like they could go offlane.
Conceptually, yes. In Pred's offlane, hell no.
Oh, interesting.
Grux would fucking tear his ass apart
every single time.
Yeah.
Even post 6, you think he just hard loses?
Yeah. He's trapped in there with them. They are not trapped in there with him.
Yeah, exactly. You're trapped in here with me.
Limiting himself.
Yeah, Revenant doesn't want to ult a Grux.
Is that because of how you guys feel like because there's no real items for a carry to be able to stand in a 1v1 against the?
He doesn't have an escape.
Yep.
That just a pure escape thing is what, and they have 100%. Gap clobes and CCs. Okay.
In the game,
you don't think his damage can out, like, you know what I mean, with the poke, and no, it won't be enough. You
especially
think?
not with 4-shot passive. If he has the 4-shot mechanic, he loses out early game on so much DPS having to reload that they literally just wait for him to reload and go off trading with him, and he loses that trade every single time with no escape. They can engage after he reloads off the 4th minion or 4th shot, and then he's just screwed.
And bruisers are just stronger than ADCs early game, as they should be.
Yep.
And yeah, he would just never get a chance to farm because of Sevarog, Crunch, Grux, Steel, any common solo laner in Predecessor would just chew Revenant up and spit him out.
Even there's an amount that Sevarog is already the example for that. Granted, he's not ranged, but Sevarog is such a scaling hero and has such a weak early game that he gets so bullied by Grux and Crunch in the offlane that he struggles to get to that point in the late game. He can, right? A good Sevarog still will with the stacking mechanic, but he already struggles. And that's someone that does have an escape. Whereas Revenant doesn't even have that. Yes, he has the range, but the dashes and the pull from Grux and Crunch will close that range instantaneously.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's going to shake the game up in that way. I think he'll just shake the game up as far as ADCs go. He's a far more interesting ADC, I think, than most of them. Drongo's actually pretty interesting himself, but as Soul Reaper often says, ADCs are just fucking in general in my. It's all about just basic attacking at the end.
And I don't remember this, so you guys will have to tell me. But in Paragon days, right? We know OP has his right click resets his 4 shots. Was that the same in Paragon?
Oh.
No,
it wasn't.
It wasn't a right click or whatever. It wasn't something else.
Yeah, his right click reloaded it. His Q did not.
Okay.
That's what I thought you were talking about. Your sound stuff just came off the wall, Jelly.
It did.
You got fucking ghosts.
It's the cat.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anyway, you guys got anything more for Pred, or do you guys want to move on to Overprime?
I think that's all for Pred. I'm curious to see what they do with Revenant. I don't think it'll change very much. But
pretty much just a Revenant waiting room right now.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't even release like that they're gonna have a skin for him on release or anything like that, so it's a bit boring. I mean, that's probably I think one of the things, and I don't really want to shit on them too much, but I do. It does bother me that they're coming out. Oh, we lost Jelly. It doesn't bother me that they're coming out with champions now. I think twice without skins attached to them, like something to get you more hyped about, something that you want to spend in the shop because they don't have a shop, right? But like, it's just. I don't know. It's a bit disappointing that those things aren't a part of a game because you want to have that included hype, I think, but maybe I'm weird.
Oh, I think people will be fine with it anyway. You
think that the true diehards won't care, right?
Yeah. Pred fans are Pred fans, and they're always going to be fans no matter what happens. It doesn't really matter if he doesn't have a skin or anything. They'll just they'll excuse Omeda for not having features while blaming Overprime for having bugs, whereas the Overprime fans will excuse all the bugs in Overprime, but give Omeda hell for not having features in their game. Same old shit will always happen.
Yep, 100%.
Anyway, speaking of Overprime, let's move on to the OP segment here. So for Overprime, they released a video in conjunction with the information that we kind of already got from them as far as their roadmap and everything. The video was a bit more detailed, though. It showed us the skins a little bit better. It showed us Adele looks fucking fine as fuck. And yeah, these skins look goddamn amazing.
They really do.
And then they kind of went into detail a little bit more as to how they're getting their data and analyzing it to make the changes that they need to be making. They used a weird word for it, but it was basically
big data.
Yeah, big data. That was the other thing.
Translation was a little off. Yeah,
but then like was it churning or something like that for like turnover? They used some kind of weird word for that.
Yeah, player churn or something like that.
Yeah, player churn. Yeah, the turnover. But yeah, they were talking about most of the people that tried the game and left did so within the very first match. So they're trying to find ways around that, which I think I said that in a video a long time ago, is that they need a versus AI mode to ease new players into the game before they start going up against old Paragon players that know what the fuck they're doing when they don't. So I think that'll be very helpful.
Yeah, or people just who played in the tests, right, and had those to back them up. Like, I agree. I mean, it's good to see them acknowledge it, obviously. And I do agree that like they went into a little bit more details. They had like bullet points kind of going in a little bit more about what each one was. And I mean, I think I got most hyped about the skins. I think they look just so good. But obviously they talked about consoles, which I think is something that is obviously always brought up and is always, being asked about. So they know that it's a main focus. Both of these studios want to get on the console as soon as they can. But they kind of and I don't know how you guys took it, but they mentioned consoles as one of their main system updates, but then they also mentioned it again as a part of the release, going into full release. So I'm like, okay, so wait, are they committing to just waiting till full release, whatever that is in whatever time frame that is, to get to console? Which makes sense, by the way. I've always preached that it's so freaking hard to get onto console if you're in beta or in early access, because those stores don't want your games on there. They even like AAA studios that do the game previews and do all that stuff, they struggle to get onto these stores. They want fully released games on the stores. And so it was interesting. Yeah, see, I think we just got it on live where it says official launch console is on there. So it was a little bit of like a weird thing, because then I think they mentioned that they want to get all the major things on systems updated too before going to full. So it's a little convoluted. I was really confused on that part, and I don't know if it was translation or they just didn't realize that they had brought it up in 3 different areas of their video. But I know the console kids are probably going to be all over Twitter and probably in the comments and all over Discords and all over Reddit talking about console when and all that stuff. We don't know.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to bring up. It was very confusing, the console news, because they kind of bounced around with it. Because they said this was like their major, like the first main thing that they want to do, but it was also full release, but Xbox is confirmed now. That was kind of a bit of a we knew that Ranger said that they wanted to put it on Xbox. It's confirmed now, so it's going to be PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam Deck. I thought that was funny that they included the Steam Deck in there. But I mean, that's good, I guess. I don't know too many people that own a Steam Deck, but
no generations. By the way,
the console thing was more of the console on release thing was more of a by release you will have console than it was a we will release console on or we will have console on full release. Because of that previous one that we'd already talked about of like console being their first main update. To me, waiting to have that until full release along with all of those other systems is a lot to drop at once and get feedback on. But I would, to me, again, I took that as we are working on console and it will be released prior to full release.
Light Artificial brings up another good point. I was like kind of looking through to see if I could find this, because they always put little fucking secrets and Easter eggs in all their goddamn videos. I was kind of looking see if I could find anything, but I'm not as smart as some of the people that have been finding some of the I definitely need to take a few more closer looks at that video, see if I could see any kind of little weird Easter eggs.
There's the churned players. They're churning out players like butter.
Yeah, churned players. That's a new one
with that clever like Q1 2021, Q2, and then like did the Steam logo with their
They have constantly been doing like that for
I love it
a while now, but so the Hero release schedule seems to be pretty locked in. I'm hoping we get Wukong this week, and just to see how he plays out.
Okay, I want Wukong this week. And we talked about this earlier, right? And I agree, Mango's, your assessment was that if they do a patch on the 21st, which is when the snow map is going away, that theoretically Wukong's going to drop at the same time. Yeah. I just want a patch to get rid of the snow map at this point.
Yeah.
I made the point to you guys earlier. We've had the snow map longer than we've had the normal map in the game.
It's true.
And that's even if I include, I did the math earlier, even if I include the 11-day test prior to release, we've had the snow map for longer than we've had the regular map. Like, okay, guys, come on, Jesus. Like, please, I think it was great. I loved the snow map for like 2 weeks. I'm ready to get rid of it now.
Soul Reaper saying that Ranger confirmed that the patch was good.
I was going to say the same thing. I think I saw one of the guys talk about that it was going to be confirmed, or that it was confirmed this week. So Soul Reaper coming in clutch and bringing that up. But yeah, I think it would be devastating if not only did we not get that, but then like they were like, oh, we had some issues. Snow map has to stay for until another patch or something. I think people might riot, and it's so unfortunate too, because like I think the idea of the snow map was so cool. It just lasted too long. Like it was fine. It was like, I think I would have been happy for it to last like the week before Christmas or the holiday season, and then the week after. So like a 2-week time, snow map is there. We enjoy it. I still agreed with everybody who said that it should never have been in comp and it should have only been in quick play. But you know, but at this point, I've gotten so used to the map that I don't know.
Its own shift to go
it
back.
will. I think it'll be weird.
Okay, I also wouldn't care if it was in the game for this long if I could turn it off. Yeah, I could be like, you know what, I've had enough of the snow map and gone. Like that'd be fine too.
It's just so boring and samey.
I like the sound still. I think the sound is probably something I still occasionally go like, it sounds so cool when I'm running around that it's like crunching like you're actually on snow, and that's immersive and it's fun. But I think where I hate it the most is in laning phase. Like I know they did an update to be able to make the visuals a little bit better, to be able to recognize when things are going on. But sometimes in team fights, it's too chaotic, and the snow 100% gets in the way of some of the stuff that's happening, especially teammates. Like if someone on your team does like some kind of AoE ability or a healing or something like that, it gets lost as it is in team fights. Now you're having this extra clutter with the snow. It just, and some champions full on just like disappear. Right? Like they just blend in so well. It's kind of stupid.
Wraith has that fucking Arctic camo on.
Yeah, it's true. But it'll be an exciting patch. I can't wait to see what Wukong's going to be like. I can't wait to main him and really just decimate in the off lane with him.
Yeah, Jelly, what do you have to say about
until Iggy comes out? Then I'm going to main Iggy.
I'm not gonna main Wukong. Fuck that.
We all know that Viking's not actually going to decimate anyone in the off lane, so it's fine. I'm not worried.
I'll have you know, I am the highest ranked person in this call right now. Okay, I hit gold 3, so suck it.
All right then.
I played against the diamond mid laner. They absolutely crushed them.
Diamond mid laner confirmed.
I really don't think that
better than Viking, guaranteed.
The ranks matter a whole hell of a lot. I mean, they may have been learning the role, but anyway. So not a lot of new data here, but pretty cool shit nonetheless.
API stuff. I was excited about them mentioning more API and what they are going to release about API. I thought that, and then obviously they have plans for more API, but I think the one that they've mentioned the first is the post-battle information for API. I don't know what people will do with that other than maybe being able to track yourself on a third-party website rather than just in client. But I thought that was kind of cool, and I'm sure people will be able to pool all that data to be able to form some kind of stuff with it. But I don't really know what yet. I'm not that smart, but I do think it's kind of cool.
Find out who in Overprime has the highest KDA and shit like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. I'm sure. Actually, they probably will. But at least it's nice because I know that's something that we've talked about, and I know a lot of the community is asking for more API engagement, so that way they can start, especially if they start going down the path that we're all really excited about, which is making builds and being able to save your builds and put them into the game and do all that stuff, because it's huge, being able to do all that stuff. So if you have access to the API to be able to do item builders and all that stuff, I think it'll be really fun. It'll make those guys who put those content creation videos together, I think, a lot easier to access, and it only helps the game, in my opinion. I don't think it makes it worse, other than maybe cookie cutter builds starting to float around too much, like 80 carries who are still doing crit builds and not looking at who they're laning against or playing against. And yeah, anyway, that's so annoying.
I mean, that's going to be people just using the recommended, you know what I mean? Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. It seemed to me too that they were alluding to a little more skill based matchmaking instead of just win rate based matchmaking.
Mm-hmm.
Be good. They were talking once again about how they're going to defeat hacks, third party software, coming down really hard on that, which is good. But yeah, again, not a lot of new information here, but a bit of clarification. In some instances, they still like that Sparrow skin. They're like high ranked.
It doesn't tell you what
in competitive. Yeah. Like, what is high ranked to you? Gold? Is it plat? Is it diamond? Is it master? What the hell is it?
I wonder if they have a percentage in mind that they're going to say top 10% of players, for instance.
Maybe.
And they're waiting for that rank to settle, so they can then just say like, okay, yeah, we want top 10%, and that's actually just a little above plat 2. So we're gonna just do it all of platinum, right? And that they're waiting to find out what that percentage is, so they can push that to the right place to still make it worthwhile.
And the fact that they don't have a 3D modeled Sparrow skin, it's all been concept art. That makes me think that they haven't even started working. Well, they probably started working by now, but it's going to be a thing that's going to come out you're going to have some time to rank up if you're looking to rank up.
Oh yeah.
What I'm hoping it is not is what their current leaderboard is, which is like a top 500 in your region gets the skin or something along those lines. Because I think that would be unfortunate for people, because the guys at the top are always going to be pushing other people out. You know what I mean? Like, so every time those guys are climbing up and pushing more people down, and then it's going to make that number harder and harder to obtain as they, you know what I mean? So I'm hoping that they come out with just a rank straightforward, like, hey, you hit plat and above, or whatever it's going to be. I mean, now that I'm gold, I'm hoping it's gold, but if it's higher up than that, then that would be, to me, more ideal than just saying like the top 500 players get it. It was cool that they got icons before. I think the guys who hit the top 100, for example, were like, hey, you deserve an icon, show that off to your friends and stuff like that. But like, I wish those icons showed up, by the way, still somehow in game. Like, I wish it was an emote that people could throw up or something like that, showing like, hey dude, I was top 100. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing to go down. But that's what I'm hoping it's not a leaderboard position that you have to obtain, because I think that's really, really difficult for people to set as like a goal milestone. But I could see them doing that for ease. Like, it'd just be like, okay, if you hit top 500 by end of Q1, you get a skin.
I don't know. Well, I guess we'll probably find out as we come closer to the end of the season.
Yeah.
Right. And I think they're doing the same thing that Pred is doing. Q1 is their end of season, and then they're doing the reset. I think that was the guess based off of everything that people have seen.
Yeah, but we don't know for sure.
Right.
100% do not know for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I'm ready to move on to Ethereal.
Ethereal.
You guys ready to move on to Ethereal?
Let's do it.
Move to Ethereal.
All right, let me.
I've heard that the ethanol has been putting out a shit ton of TikToks.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about, Jelly. What's up? What's up with Ethereal shitting out TikTok talks and shorts like every day?
Pooping them out.
What's going on with that? Is there any reason for it?
I mean, they're
leading up to something.
Shorts and TikToks?
Is it leading up to something?
Mango's not like shorts and TikToks, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna stop posting them. It's Mangoose's fault. Mangoose doesn't like any information to go out to the community. He hates communities, including his own. So all of you come to my channel, and it's fine. We'll figure it out.
Big true.
So, other than that, we've got this updated map, which you gave me the GIF for, which we're looking at right now. So you can rotate through just to maximize whichever lane you're in, and take that GIF down for now because it's getting a little wonky there.
I think
Put the picture.
I think it's freezing up the stream. Maybe it's just me though.
Yeah, if you just put up the picture, I can explain the concept now that people have seen the functionality of it.
Oh,
wow.
Or I saved it somewhere weird.
Didn't even save the picture.
I can't pull it right now because I would have to get into Discord to pull it up.
Uh-oh. Well, you can see it on socials, guys. You can see it on socials.
Goodness gracious.
Just pause the GIF at some point and then have that be the picture.
This will go up on all the social medias tomorrow morning. But the mini map has changed. So in our previous test, the mini map was just a single lane. That's the lane you could see, and you could rotate between fire, void, and ice, but it was only ever the one lane that you could see. So if you wanted to do that, it was inconvenient at best to switch lanes, because then you're giving up being able to see your own lane or the lane you're in and anything like that. The benefit of this one is now you have all three lanes on there, and it then enlarges the lane you're looking at, or the one you're either on, or the one you decide you're trying to look at. This lets you get a bigger picture of what's going on, right? At a glance, you can see towers, minions, all that, objectives, all that kind of stuff, right? But then you also can get a bigger view of your lane, another lane, to get a more enlarged view, for lack of a better way to put it, of what's going on in that lane, so you can get a better understanding of maybe what rotations to make, where to go, who's where, et cetera, et cetera.
You might need to do another TLDR of that exact explanation, because I think it was messing out for people. Lionheart says fixed. It does look better on my screen, but I just
same here.
I don't want people to miss it. So if you want to just do kind of a shortened version of it, in case people did, or do the whole thing. I don't care.
Mini map grow, mini map shrink. There you go, TLDR.
A blood hunter.
So this is, again, so you have the ability to see more things at once on your mini map.
Yeah.
And then there are other changes that are coming as well that'll help you gain more information like that a little easier as well.
Sick. More information is always key, I think.
Yeah.
I'm still wondering, Jelly, though, is this leading up to something? Are you going to give us an answer?
Everything leading up to something?
Oh, now we're getting philosophical.
Playtest win. Playtest win.
I think
that why we're getting all these shorts? Huh?
I won't say it's leading, like there's a definitive, like at the end of 20 shorts, there's going to be a big announcement.
First.
Right, but these shorts are more intentional, a broadening of horizons for Ethereal, right? YouTube shorts and TikTok are the next giant social media medium. I say the next, they already are.
Yeah.
They're only increasing in the potential that they have. So we wanted to make sure and take advantage of that potential while it's available, and kind of get into that rhythm and cadence of releasing information on those platforms, in addition to social media and Discord posts and all that kind of stuff.
Leading up to the lead up of the playtest. Yes.
It's the roadmap to the roadmap, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but playtest win. That's the real lead up.
Yeah, trust me, I wish I could tell you. I mean, I know, but
it's fucking.
But yeah, no, it's like I said, it's more of a broadening of horizons than it's a leading up to something, right? Because like some of the information on there is information the community's known about for a while, right? The updated map community's known about, right? It's things that we're trying to kind of, like I said, get it out there, get the word out there of Ethereal. One video that did weirdly well that none of us expected internally was the lore video. Actually kind of popped off.
Oh, really?
Like, it was this weird. Everyone internally was like, yeah, it's a lore video. Okay, we'll put it out. People like lore. Viking asked for lore a couple weeks ago. Fine, whatever. Right? And it popped off and was like the #1 viewed video in the time frame. And
nice.
Like, what? Like, of all the videos. Oh man.
It that makes my heart happy. I'm a lore guy.
Because these are sick.
These are the splash arts we have that Mangoose has been storing for 5 million years.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I've seen some of these.
Though I'm so curious which of these Mangoose actually has.
What are you talking about?
Well, I don't know. There's Angel with a Glock for all of you that are in the Discord. That's what we call him, Angel with a Glock.
Okay. Arma brought up a good point. Become a tester, and then you can play test.
Yay,
is
there you go.
a current opening for testers, and if so, how would they be able to apply?
So testing is NA only. So I'll get that out off the top. Oh, look at Frost. Testing is NA only. So unfortunately, our EU friends or Asian friends, we can't have you guys in testing at the moment. It's a legal issue, right? We have everybody sign NDAs when they get into testing. So from that perspective, we're US based, so we need US based testers for legal implications. But there is a place on the website. What I'll do is I'll post a link here that you guys can go grab that you can fill out, and then there's rotating positions of testers and all that kind of stuff.
Nice. And as somebody who used to be a tester, are you guys looking for any like specific skill sets, or are you just looking for people who can be there, be on time, stick around for a little while, give meaningful feedback, don't have to have previous testing experience? Or the opposite of that, you're looking for some high quality testers that have been in this before, or a mixture of the two, something along those lines?
I mean, I won't speak exactly to that because I mean, Arma's in the chat. Arma's our testing lead. So I'll let him kind of more specifically answer that. But short answer is yes. There is no right or wrong answer, right?
Okay.
If you think you can bring something to testing, whether that be skill, information, I feel like that's a valuable trait to have and to bring into something like Ethereal, which is going to need so much of that kind of stuff.
I mean, I did okay. I was just a body more times than not. So I think if I can make it, then anyone else can.
The fucking sacrificial lamb to Fumo is what you are when you're reading.
So I can talk a little bit about this without breaking NDA, but like my first game in as a brand new tester, I was like, I don't know very much at all. I got just pooped on. Like it was so bad. I hard lost. Like it was not even close. But it was fun. But
yeah, I think you could kind of expect that from any kind of a new game, you know.
Yeah, it was tough. The testers, they're good. They know what they're doing.
There's the link, by the way. I just posted the link to the website for people to apply to be an internal tester.
Right on. Thank you for that. We're going to be hitting that up. All right. So you guys
and also anyone watching this later on, I will post that in the comments as well, so you can go there.
These images I've been running through, that I scrambled for after I didn't have that map image. those are all myths that are going to be either already in or will be in Ethereal. So you saw somebody that made your pee hard. There you go. They're going to be in there. There's a lot of really great designs. I love the style that Ethereal has gone with, and I love the style, I love the map. I love the only thing I don't love about Ethereal is how complicated it can be. Very first start, I think that's going to be the main hurdle that you guys are going to have.
Yep, absolutely. But we have ideas for that, Mangoose.
We have ways to fix it.
But yeah, so if you aren't following our YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube or to our TikTok, make sure you go follow those. And then as you see posts, give them a like, give them a comment, even if it's just good post. That's a win. That's an algorithmic win. Messed Up Perfect tells me to stop posting as well. Between Mangoose and Messed Up Perfect, I get told to stop posting, that they don't like community outreach. They don't like us posting anything. Messed Up Perfect even did it in a comment. He told me stop posting these, Jelly, by name. He called me out.
All right, well, let's move on from Ethereal. Let's move into some of the questions. Viking introduced by the way, my Discord is now the FTM Discord. It's not my Discord anymore. It belongs to all three of us. And Viking has been making a few changes, and he made a specific section to ask questions for FTM. I wanted to dig into some of those questions tonight. Really, really good ones. Start off with Strife88. Do you think there will be a quality performance mode choice when it comes to console, like most games? Or will the game be optimized purely around performance? Also, console win. So I don't know much about console games. I haven't owned a console in for fucking ever. So from my understanding, it's usually what, 68? They shoot for 60 FPS, or is it 30
for new generation? Yeah, that's the goal. previous generations were capped at 30. Some games were able to go to 60, but for the most part, they were capped at 30. But the quality performance mode thing that they're mentioning is a modern console thing that you'll see games. God of War Ragnarok, I know had it, but even a whole bunch of others. You can determine I'm willing to run at 30 frames, but have higher quality, or I'm willing to have lower quality to run at 60 frames. And so I imagine both of these games will probably, being Predecessor and Overprime that have talked about console already, will probably have some kind of quality to performance mode, because gamers want higher frame rates, because you can do things react better on higher frame rates, but they also some people like quality over frame rate. So it's just going to be one of those choices players have to make.
And in that same line, I think if forced to choose, if they can't make it a toggle, it'll probably be optimized around performance. It would be dumb of them not to, because it just
random frame drops on console. Yeah, feel terrible.
Right. So I would say that they're going to preface or probably try to optimize around performance, and then have the other options available if they can. But again, like Jelly said, that will be on new consoles. We don't have any idea whether these are going to come to the PS4 or the 360 or whatever. So
we do know that Overprime will go to a PS4.
Well, we know they got the package for it, but we know that they're for sure going to just commit to it. Or
why would they get a PS4 dev kit if they're not going to dev for the PS? Those things cost like $2,000.
Listen, man, I don't know.
I mean, I assume that's part of the console coding. The whole part of developing for console is optimizing for console. So I assume that they'll all be optimized for console whenever they come out. That's for both Red and Overprime and Ethereal. Jelly could probably tell us exactly for Ethereal.
But yeah, I want to clarify. They're right. 60 frames at 4K for the new gen consoles seems to be the threshold a lot of them are shooting for.
Okay.
Lower resolutions, you can get higher than that for sure. And whether they support that frame rate will be up to each individual game.
Correct.
And
because some will support higher. Your TV might not support it, but the game supports it. So TBD. But again, they'll probably optimize around performance at a base level, and then have other options based off of those things, especially for the new consoles.
Let's move on to the next question from I'm Stranger. What are Pred and Overprime's top 3 strengths and top 3?
Super good question.
Let's go. We'll each name one. Instead of all three of us naming 3, let's each name one.
Okay.
I like it. Would anybody like to go first? With a strength for Pred and a strength for Overprime. I can go first if you want me to.
If you already have them off the top of your head, I want to go for it.
I mean, I think the strength for Pred is obviously optimization. Even aside from, you got smooth graphics, smooth gameplay, blah, 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 the optimization in Pred is fucking fantastic. Never tried to stream the games. Streaming Predecessor is so much easier than streaming Overprime. You're going to run into all kinds of weird hiccups with Overprime. You have to fuck with your settings and stuff. Predecessor is just plug and play and go, because it's just so well optimized. So I think that's one of the top strengths for Predecessor. One of the top strengths for Overprime is just variety. You've got so many choices for all kinds of stuff. Is it not just the features that they've included in early access, but the amount of heroes that they have, the amount of heroes they want to have, and even variety within each hero. Like being able to figure, like I've talked about this so many times already, but I'm going to talk about it again. Like Grux. You can just go in with Grux and play Grux like he's just normal old Grux and smash and grab and dash and double chop and all that shit. Or you can get all crazy with it, do some jumping 360 spins and slam down on people with your smash and grab out of a leap, and then you can jump off certain areas and dash into other areas. Like there's a lot of variety with each hero to be had. So I think that's kind of cool.
With that, I wish I was recording, but I wasn't. I had a enemy Grux come through the small portal with his smash and grab action already going through. So he came through the portal and pulled people as he came into the prime pit.
amazing.
Surprised the shit out of everybody. And we were like, so freaking cool. I don't know if it's like it's intended. I haven't tried to replicate it personally, but I saw it happen. Unless I was high or something, it was really, really cool. I'm pretty sure you could do it because I think you could do a lot of your abilities going through the portals as it is. So it wouldn't.
I know Shibby could throw her wolves through the portal. Follow people straight through, kill them.
Right.
Kalari. Yep.
Countess,
Chimera right click also works. If you right click before you land, they travel through the portal.
Yep.
You don't go across because you don't get high enough and you don't disappear, but you'll face plant into the prime spirit pit because the game just drags you behind them until you collide with something. So if you want to get to prime spirit really quickly, that's a way to do it.
That's hilarious.
But I think those are great points, Mangoose. I guess I will go next in a positive for Predecessor and Overprime. For Predecessor, I would say smoothness of gameplay. And I don't mean that in an optimization way. I mean that in or I guess I should say consistency in gameplay. When you do something in Predecessor, it behaves the same way 99% of the time. Right? That you're doing something, you press a button, you expect that button to behave a certain way, and it does behave that certain way. Like I said, 99% of the time. Whereas in Overprime, that doesn't quite. I would say not bare 60% of the time the button presses work the way you expect them to. Depends on the ability, right? There's consistency levels within each ability, right? But I think that's a big win for Predecessor. For Overprime, there are a lot of good things about Overprime, right? I think one of the big benefits of Overprime is that it feels like you can come back into the game more in Overprime than comparatively to Predecessor.
Like the learning curve of it?
No, learning curve,
coming from behind.
But behind in the game, you have a lot of potential to come back into the game.
Sure.
Whether that be with, and there's an amount that this is not the healthy way to come back into the game, right? But you can come back into the game. You can steal a prime. You can get a mini prime and use it to help push down a tower to open up the game. You can have control over prime spirits. You can just be better at team fighting, right? Like there are a lot of opportunities for you to re-enter the game and do something with your game, even from behind, comparatively to the other game.
That kind of feeds into what I was talking about, variety as well. Because if you're in the mid lane and you're just hard countered, well, whatever lane you're in, if you're hard countered by the opposition. If you're trying to play fucking Countess into phase, it just does not work if the phase has two brain cells rubbing together. But the option is there to just rotate and try and get your XP and gold through kills. A lot of people get pissed off about Overprime, but the option is there, and you can come back into the game. That way. But yeah, if you're playing Countess, don't fucking push anywhere near even mid. like farm under your tower and then rotate to get kills elsewhere because you are not going to fucking do.
And to be honest, you sacrificing a wave or two is it's costing you minimal gold in Overprime, right? And in most other games, you're sacrificing minions is super taboo. You do not do that. Don't the roam is probably not going to pay off enough times for it to be worth losing all those minions. In Overprime, you're probably okay. It's not going to be the end of the world if you're roaming. So yeah, if you're playing those burst or assassins, or if you're hard countered, don't stay in your lane, dude. Go find somewhere else. The rotations are fast in this game and easy, and you can make something happen and get one of your teammates ahead and get yourself ahead through that. Junglers too. That's the same thing. You don't have to just always be in duo lane. Get them ahead, sure, I get it, but show up in the other lanes. Even your presence just showing up and forcing somebody to back up a little bit gives that breathing room. So, anyway, I'm gonna go down too much, but that's I'm very passionate about it. Is it my turn? Did we do both for you, Jail? Okay. So I'll start with Pred. I think actually my favorite thing about Pred is the passives. I think that the passives make for interesting balance and interesting game choice. I think that there's lots of opportunity for them to kind of continue over time, tweaking those passives and really make them feel unique, and they don't have to stay static, which I think is really fun. The passives can take on a bigger picture, have a smaller picture. I like that some champions, it feels like everything is about their passive, and then other champions, it's like, the passive just kind of plays a small role in the overall of their kit. And I think that's a lot of fun. It gives a lot, to me, it gives opportunity for innovation in different ways other than button presses. So I think that's probably one of my favorite, because the other two that you guys mentioned are obviously really strong cases for them. In Overprime, I think for me, it's the thing that keeps me coming back is that I have more fun consistently in Overprime. Like I don't think, I mean, there's definitely games where I'm tilted off my, I just have to quit. I have to leave. But I feel like there's, especially going from like ranked to quick play, there's been so many times where like me and Mangoose, for example, we were doing duo queue and we were just like not having a great time in ranked. And we were like, do you want to just go to quick play and fuck around?
Yeah.
Like, and having that like mind shift and mind change to kind of like take myself, I still want to play the game, I just don't want to be sweaty anymore. I want to play the game, I want to try new champions, I want to try new builds. Like, you played Reaper for the first time, like, or not Reaper, oh my, Revenant. I saw Reaper in Discord and I got distracted. Anyway, you played Revenant for the first time, and I was like, I immediately thought you were talking about Pred Revenant, and I was like, wait, he got released and I wasn't paying attention. I was like, oh, tripped out. I think that's really exciting, right? Like, that's what's cool about, I think, Overprime is like going into quick play matches, kind of trying new roles, trying new champions. Like I've never would have thought to try Kalari in a million years. I played the shit out of Kalari now. Like, I've played her a lot of times. I'm starting to feel like I can actually, carry games on her a little bit more. Not like, gelling these levels, but I feel confident that if I get put in jungle, I can pick up a jungler and do the role well. And I would not feel that same confidence in Predecessor. Like, I do not think I could jump into Pred's jungle or any other lane as easily, because the requirements for understanding the champions and the matchups and stuff like that is higher and Predecessor to an extent. So I think those are my two positives.
Okay. Now let's do negatives. I think for Predecessor, and this is just for me personally, I think the solo queue experience in Predecessor is fucking like when you're solo queued, like it's Predecessor is extremely it's fault point. Yeah. It's extremely team dependent. You can win the hell out of your lane, but if off lane loses their lane, you can still just get fucking insta deleted by the crunch that won that lane. Have you tried to take objectives? Like, the whole team has to be on board. If you're not in comms in Discord or something, the whole team's not going to be on board. it's the solo queue experience in Predecessor is, I think, a little harder than Overprime's, because oddly enough, without having ranked, every game in Predecessor feels a little more important, I guess. Like, you feel like you're letting your down a little bit more, I think. I don't know, it's just very, very rough, and trying to come back in Predecessor after you're down a little bit is very difficult. For Overprime, I'm kind of going to dovetail off of what Jelly said about the good thing about Predecessor being consistency. Overprime's weakness is inconsistency. A great example of that is Countess. Countess in Predecessor, if you shadow slip to somebody, bam, you're on them. You hit them at the same angle every time, and it works. Overprime, you shadow slip to somebody from like a ledge or something, you might bounce off their head. So when you throw your E, you're throwing it off into the fucking space. Or like you shadow slip, you never know where the fuck you're going to go when you shadow slip with Countess. It's like, what the fuck? And there's just a lot of inconsistent abilities. Play Aurora sometime if you want some inconsistency. Sometimes you can Hoarfrost midair and catch somebody. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes her ice wall will go exactly where you want it to. Sometimes it just goes along the ground. I was like, I was definitely aiming up. Why the fuck did I just go across the ground? Like, yeah, there's a lot of inconsistency in Overprime that really needs to be looked at.
Steel Shield.
I was just gonna say the same thing. When we did that, we did that test on Steel, and the amount of things that like it would block, but then sometimes it wouldn't block it if you did it this way, and then if you did it that way, it would block it. Or like if you're taking damage, but then you could throw it down midway, and then you'd stop taking. It was very weird. I mean, made Steel look way overpowered with just one ability.
It blocked everything except Wraith. Like Wraith was the only thing that
Twin blast grenades.
Yeah, twin blast grenades, ground and pound from Rampage. That was weird. There was a lot of weird inconsistencies with it. And I think with the inconsistencies, and it's not going to be mine, but I just want to kind of jump on it. Is like also the prioritization of CC is also a little wonky sometimes. Like it's not really clearly defined. And I know a lot of games kind of struggle with that, but I do think in Pred it feels more consistent that like this ability overrides this ability. Like the rock paper scissors kind of is a little bit more obvious, whereas
rock,
like
paper scissors silence just beats all three.
Yeah, that's true. It's shotgun or something like that.
It's Spock.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, but Overprime, like it's like, you know, it's depending, like, okay, I did my Grux pull and I hit the button, but it didn't finish the animation, and somebody else stunned me first. So not only did I lose the click, which in Predecessor you get it back. If you get interrupted when you press a button, you still have the ability to press it again afterwards, right? So I mean, I've had so many of my like ultimates or various things interrupted by some CC that I didn't even know was coming my way, and now all of my major, like, my abilities are that I use to stay alive or use to do whatever are on cooldown now for however long, and I just lose that team fight. I'm kind of effed.
It's one of the reasons Countess is the weakest fucking hero in Overprime.
Kalari ultimate, whether it stuns or doesn't stun.
Oh my god.
Kalari one, I've now experienced it quite a few times. Like, you do the right click into the E combo and you think, okay, I should be easily able. I'm literally right here.
They're rooted.
Somehow,
they can't move. I'm looking right at them.
Yeah.
Press the button, doesn't stun.
Yeah, somehow they still end up getting away. And also, like, some of the buffering that they do is also a little weird. Like, so the guy hit his blink at the same time that I E'd, but I stayed back. You know, and this is using Kalari as an example. I stayed back there where he was. I've got the root thing there, but he's over there now, rooted, but not, like, I can't do anything to him. It is buggy. It is a little weird, and it's absolutely a big negative in there. It is a wonkadoodle for sure.
Jelly weaknesses.
I'm gonna give the same weakness for both of them, and I mean this in a much more broader sense than it's typically used. I think both of their balance sucks. I for various reasons, and I mean balance not just in hero balance. I mean map balance, objective balance, tower balance, hero balance, the whole 9 yards. I think both of them really struggle in a lot of ways. Item balance.
But that was going to be mine, so you stole it. So balance is a good one, because I was going to say item balance as my negative, but now I'll have to think of another one. But it's true.
But yeah, that both of them have. I mean, Predecessor, the big balance nightmare right now is Fangtooth. If your team has Fangtooth, you win the game 99% of the time. I had a game the other day. We got to 8 Fangtooth, and it was just like, and the other team had 0. And it was just like, well, at this point, we're just not ending the game. We have 8 Fangtooth. Like, there's literally no way we lose this, because we just have that objective control. And I'm not saying when you get to the extremes that you shouldn't have the ability to just take over the game. But when you get 3 of them, you take over the game instantaneously. Like, it's just one of those things. For Predecessor, it's for Overprime, it's both mini prime and large prime. If your team controls those 2 things, regardless of what state your game was in beforehand, you win, because it does so much. The big prime does so much to destroy the map for the enemy team. You can get inhibs, you can knock the core down to 1%, you can do a lot of damage to the enemy's structures. And mini prime is just one of those oppressive. The amount of damage it does when you drop it, the fact that it pushes back heroes. It's basically usable in every scenario, not just taking down towers. And even now people are talking about dropping it on the prime spirit to do, or a burst of damage on prime spirit. It runs into the duo lane, so now you're on prime spirit doing that while they have to go defend their duo lane. Like, it just does far too much, especially in comparison to prime spirit. Prime spirit's strong, but if I have to choose between taking the primes or the prime spirits, I'm going to give up prime spirit every single time and just go take the primes. And so objectives to objectives, meh. The itemization on both of them is meh. The balance of those items as well. Like Mangus in his Countess video, Fanatic's Dessert counters Countess. Ta-da! Like, you just, and that's a core item you build in basically every carry build.
Yep.
Or every DPS character, physical powered character build. Fanatic's Dessert every single time. And congratulations, Countess doesn't exist. Like, that's a bad thing. Pennant of Confinement. If you're against a Wraith, if you're against these kind of poke mages, Pennant of Confinement will basically negate all of that damage. Right? Like, you are ruining heroes because of your itemization. And Predecessor has similar items not similar items to those two that I just mentioned, but similar problems with their items. Like I said, balance just as a whole for both of these games is just all over the place.
I like the idea of the top 3 strengths, the top 3 weaknesses that apply to both games. Like, that gives me some ideas for videos, because I think both games too have a lot of dead spots in their gameplay.
Yep.
It occurs in different times in both games, but there's definitely a lot of some dead space in there where you got fucking shit all to do. Jedi, your weaknesses for both games.
Okay, well, Jelly kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I'm gonna kind of, I guess, just piggyback off of it. I think for me with Overprime, it's the post 20 minutes just sucks balls. It is so, I don't know what it, maybe it's better in like super high end ranked games, but I don't know, we'd have to talk to some of those guys and see what but in most of my games, after 20 minutes, if you have like a pretty well, like, good even game, that post 20 minutes sucks so much. There's so much just like, well, I can't run forward and catch that mini wave because they're just gonna collapse on me, and we can't keep enough vision up far enough up to be able to protect ourselves so we can go out there. They're doing the same thing. I've had games where we're just staring at each other in mid lane at the opposite ends, waiting for minions to push up far enough that we can go out and farm them. And then of course you'll always have it in your game where your guy will dip into the jungle to go for one jungle camp, and then everybody from the enemy team is there and kills him, and now it's a 4v5, and you're just like, why were you in the jungle, bro? Like, it just is so boring after 20 minutes, and it's exactly what Jelly was talking about. The balance around those neutrals is so high, where you end up having to coin flip sometimes. It's like, okay, so what does our team need more? Do we need to just like, do we go into the throw pit that is prime and try and hope that we can 50-50 smite? Is it the first one? Maybe we give that one away and keep stacking up spirit, so that way we can get the minions pushing and keep them on that way, so we can get more gold. And there's so many things that kind of start to play, and when you're in a solo duo environment, it's really hard to get everybody on the same page because there's no real, like, you do this to do this to do this. Like, you end the game by following these steps, and because it's all up in the air,
go into the throw pit and hope your team wins.
Yeah, bring more smites and hope that your ping is good enough to win the 50-50. Like, it sucks. Like, I had a jungle game, and Mingus, I think, was with me in this one. I'm on 100 ping, and we're going into a 50-50 jungle smite. Like, it's like I'm gonna be at the disadvantage. I'm on 104 ping. That guy could be on like 30 ping. Like, who's gonna win that smite battle? And it sucks that it comes down to that kind of, like, inconsistencies. So that's good.
Soul Reaper mentions in the chat, high end is pretty good. Sieging feels all right, in my opinion, when everyone knows what to do. It shouldn't take everyone to siege something, right? It should take you knowing how to siege and being able to do so. And a lot of that comes back down to minions. All right, their minions do not push lanes. Like, you have to set them up extraordinarily perfect for it to push a lane and actually be anything meaningful.
And then even then it could path weird. It could path weird and fuck it all up anyway. It's that's another one. Minions are garbage.
With Wukong's release is Wukong's identity. He is a split pusher split pusher duelist through and through.
We'll see.
And if you can't split push in Overprime, right? You can't build up massive waves. You can't do this wave management. Then a lot of Wukong's like strengths and ability and play style is just kind of removed from the game, and that will mute Wukong and maybe balance Wukong a little bit. But I don't think that's a good thing. That's the thing that's balancing Wukong, is he can't split push as effectively.
Yeah.
What's your negative for Pred?
So this one, I'm going to harken it back a little bit to something I sent you guys in our FTM Discord, where we just talk about stuff, and it's the spectrum that I feel with Predecessor. I feel like and this is, again, guys, if this is not an attack on people who enjoy the game, like, I'm not trying to yuck anyone else's yum. This is my current feelings, and I'm sure some people will share it, but if you don't, this isn't an attack on you. You might really love it. But I feel like Predecessor, for me, if I have like a bar graph with a line on it, it's the two extremes are, it's extremely tilting, and then on the high end of where it's supposed to be good, for me, it's like meh at best. Like, it's like, okay, it was good, and so much of how good it is dependent on who I'm playing with. And to me, I can have fun with my friends in any game. You know what I mean? It doesn't make the game good because I'm having fun with my friends. Like, I can do that in other games and still just have as much equal fun. So that has like a very small percentage increase on that. So for me, it goes, again, extremely tilting. I don't want to touch this game. I rage quit it out of one of the games because it was just one of the most frustrating things. And we were 5-stacked and having fun with friends, but it was so frustrating. And then on the high end, it's like, okay, like I don't ever feel like, even when I'm popping off, like I'm having like probably one of the best Grux games I've ever had, I'm still not like as hyped up, even if I'm having a mediocre game on Grux and Overprime. So I think it's just a personal thing, and maybe other people will disagree or agree, but that spectrum is where I think it's just not as much fun. It doesn't have as much, because Overprime has a very similar graph. It has tilting moments where I'm tilted out of my mind and I don't want to touch it for a few days after I've had those tilting moments. But then on the other hand, it's also got extremely like hyped, like crazy moments where I do something that I'm not like, would never think I could pull off, and I pull it off anyway. And it was like, or that comeback win where we just fought tooth and nail and made something crazy happen or whatever. Like, those moments feel so satisfying in Overprime. And so by contrast, in Predecessor, I feel like it's off. And I don't know if anybody else shares that same experience, but that's my negative, I think, other than some of the ones you guys mentioned, because I agree with yours.
Right on. Let's move on to the next question then. Mr. Ghost asks, I know you guys have touched on it a little bit and maybe I missed it, but what are your thoughts on communication levels from both teams, and where would you like them? I personally think that both teams, like the industry standard for indie developed like early access games, I think both teams are doing great. I think Predecessor is doing really well with it. I think Soul Eve, though, goes above and beyond what I would expect from any company, whether they're AAA or indie. But I think Predecessor is just fine. Like they're good. We get the information. A lot of their stuff is just kind of videos or gameplay or whatever. But I think Overprime goes like I think this recent video they released just nails it on the head with how much communication they give. Like, they broke everything down, like why they're doing this, how they're doing this, how far along they are in the process of figuring out how to do shit. And then you got Ranger just always in Discord. I think Pred's communication back in the day was fucking fantastic, and I really miss that. Like, back in the day, back in Pred's Discord, you Smokey was in there all the time. I'm sure he's in there now, but like, not like it was back when. Like, Smokey and Fringe and like, I'd be playing like Hearthstone with Smokey and shit. Like, there was a lot. It was a much tighter, close knit developer community relationship when Pred first started out than they are right now, and I think that's completely understandable and acceptable. But I miss that.
I think I'm going to put this into an analogy, and it's not a perfect one, but I think it captures the most of the idea that their communication for both games, Predecessor's communication is AAA amounts of communication at an indie studio, slightly above indie studio quality, whereas Overprime is AAA quality at an indie studio level of communication, or a frequency of communication. Right, where we get slightly more out of them, and when we do, it's always like above top of the line. Like, I'm always amazed at the production quality that goes into Overprime's stuff when they release it, right? But we have slightly less communication from Predecessor, but that is they're doing that AAA that they only talk when they need to kind of thing, right? But they do put out quality that is above just generic indie studio quality as well. It's just not quite in the eyes of comparison of Predecessor to Overprime. Theirs looks awful in comparison with the production quality that comes out of Overprime. Not that theirs is awful, but just when you look at them side by side, you're like, well, this is prettier and shinier. Like, why would I not like this?
Yeah. Jedi, any thoughts?
I think that, and we talk about this, we have talked about this a lot in the past. I think for me, it's like, we get to a point where we're really greedy, especially those of us who are like really invested in both studios and invested in this space. I want more, right? I always want more. I want more dates. Like, I want more hard commitments to doing things. Like, you know, I get so annoyed, and it's probably cringy of me to do so, but I'm probably not alone. I get so annoyed when I don't get anything like definitive. Like, you know, like, as much as I give the console win guys shit, I would be, if I was like a hardcore console guy, I would be pissed that like it's just never given any like definitive, like, you will be able to play this game at this time, like, or even if it was like more like broader but narrowed, like, you know what, we're aiming for summer. Like, if everything goes well, we want you guys to be able to play this game sometime in the summer. Okay, thank you. That's something. Like, not knowing anything at all and having these kind of like just up in the air dates drives me nuts, and I know it drives the community nuts, if depending on whatever they're passionate about. I also wish that the communication levels were more defined in trying to create a community space that's more inclusive. I would love it if I saw some more of these devs coming in and bashing people in the face who are, you know, being extremely negative or talking shit or trying to throw other players under the bus or using racial slurs. Like, they get banned in Discord or stuff like that, like, you know, if they're really, really bad. But like, those aren't coming from like the devs saying like, hey, we don't stand by this stuff. OP has done it a little bit with, you know, their ban channel of what they've banned, but it's almost always about third party stuff, and you don't really get a really clear idea of what they were banned for overall, because they kind of just lump it all together. So I think I would like to see more of that, because one of the worst things that I feel like could keep coming up is the toxicity of these communities. I you know, like, we talked about this last FTM, but when I did that dive into, you know, the Pred Reddit, it was terrible. It made me hate Pred fans, and I don't think all Pred fans are those guys, right? Obviously that's not true. Like, they're just the vocal minority, but it made me like really annoyed. I was just very frustrated. I was like, guys, why are you acting like fucking children? Like, and I know Overprime guys have done the same thing. Like, I'm not excusing them, but this was just the most recent thing at the top of my head. I just hate it. Like, dude, just calm down, dude. Stop being children about this stuff. And I wish that it wasn't just us as talking heads kind of throwing that out there at our communities, because I think the FTM/Mangoose community has been great. Like, over the last few months, like, we've had way less of those like really aggressive people coming into the comments and shitting on one over the other. Like, you know, you still see it every once in a while, somebody comes in and says something, but for the most part, the FTM and Mangoose community has chilled out and is just like, hey, you know, I enjoy this game for this, and I, you know, enjoy this game for that. You should play what makes you happy. I'm gonna play what makes me happy. I don't, you know, it is what it is. And that's how I think it should be. And both of these studios, I think, need to come out and do more in that regard. So that's how I feel when it comes to some of the communication stuff. You know,
toward that end, also, if you're in the Paragon subreddit, stop attacking the other community. Stop being like, this is the Paragon subreddit, not the Overprime subreddit. Go there. Oh. This is the Paragon subreddit, not the Predecessor subreddit. Just stop. It's for a game that doesn't exist. It's neither of their subreddits. It doesn't matter. If someone wants to post Overprime stuff in there, let them. If someone wants to post Predecessor stuff in there, let them. Be nice to each other.
No, you got to be a pedantic asshole if you're going to be on Reddit.
God, it's wild. Every time I go on the Paragon subreddit, the comments are always like, this isn't the Overprime subreddit. I'm like, stop. I don't care. Like, if someone's asking a question about Overprime, answer their question. If someone's asking about something about Predecessor, answer their question. Don't be this jerk that offers nothing to it.
Let's move on now to a question from Taboo. Bloodthirstiest support there is. Games have been out for a month, but seem like they're already dead. Why? I do think that they have lost a lot of players. That doesn't. Neither one feels dead to me. I can get a match in either one within minutes, which I think a dead game is one that no matter when you keep, never get a match. But
we played Vault for 2 years, so this is an improvement. No, but I honestly, I think there's a bigger reasoning to this, and it's the faults of both companies, and also I would say not their faults at the same time. They both released in the busiest time of year on the planet.
Yeah, it's true.
Plain and simple. Like, companies take weeks off at a time, and I don't know what these guys took off in terms of time frame, right?
Mm-hmm.
But companies do take weeks off at a time. People have families coming into town. People travel. People do everything under the sun over the last month of the year, and these are the time that both of these games released. I think that certainly does not help either of them in any way, shape, or form. I think Predecessor has done more to mitigate that, but at both of them, they released at the worst possible time for anything to release, on top of all the other things in the world that are releasing at the same time. Like, it's just wild.
I kind of agree. I think it's a little too early to say dead. You know what I mean? Like and I think that's something too. We talked about this last week, I think, as well. Like, they have only really been out for like a month and a half at this point. Like, that's really not that long. Like there's and they're both, and I know we hate this term, but they are in early access, right? So like that gives a little bit of a buffer of that they have, an expectation of time to kind of work on things and improve. And I think, to be fair, both studios. To be fair, both studios will have returning players on major content updates. Like, we will probably get huge numbers when Wukong comes out. We're going to get huge numbers when Revenant comes out, and it's going to keep happening as more of these, champions are released in both studios. I mean, I don't think, like I said, I think dead is too strong of a word. I do think there was a major lull, and you can absolutely, attest that to a bunch of things. You could say because of the holidays. You could say that people just weren't having as much fun as they hoped they would. Not their favorite champion wasn't in the game that they wanted to play. Life happened. There's just so many reasons for the fluctuation. Not to mention the two different, time zones at which both of these devs operate in, and the way things kind of fluctuate from that. I don't think they're dead. I think that they both are struggling to keep engagement in some capacities, and they both have plans to fix that. I think the new player experience is probably the biggest one. I think the studios that do the best job of iterating on that and improving it will see more longevity and probably consistency as far as player base and retention in that, but time will tell. I think it's too early to say dead. Concerning maybe, but not overly concerning anyway. Like, I wouldn't be overly concerned if I'm these guys. I wouldn't be like knee-jerk reaction to different things.
Let's move on to the final question, which I think is quite interesting. It actually speaks to a lot of what Ethereal has been doing. This is from Trollface. Does the dissonance between visual and kit design make an important part in new player onboarding, and would it be better to fix that dissonance? The example he gave is Bellica. If you look at Bellica, if you knew nothing about Paragon, you would probably assume that she was an ADC. She's got the submachine gun and shit. She just looks like an ADC, but she's a mage. So, but you do see a lot of new players trying to build her as like a basic attack damage hero, an AD carry. Another prime example I think of this, this happened in Paragon with Aurora. People saw Frost Girl, they immediately thought Frost Mage. They thought Aurora was a mage. Aurora was never a mage. She's a magical damage bruiser, kind of like Kwang is. I still see that come up in Overprime. So I think this is a really interesting question. Should they apply that? Because, Jelly, you could speak for Ethereal. You guys have applied that a lot. If, like you've often said, if it's in their kit, they're going to use it. And I think there's a very clear delineation. You know what you're picking whenever you pick it. You know Iran's going to be a bruiser.
Yep.
You know Talos is going to be a bruiser.
You have an understanding of what to expect.
You look at Leah's fucking wings and you're like, that bitch is going to fly. She's going to fly. She flies. Malaya looks like an assassin. Marina looks like a support. Like, everything in Ethereal, I think, looks... I mean, it's subjective, of course, but I think everything in Ethereal looks like it is what it is, as opposed to the Paragon hero design. A lot of them don't look like the role that they actually...
I don't... my answer to this question would be kind of both yes and no. I don't think it necessarily helps with new player onboarding to have characters that look the part, for lack of a better way to put it. But I do think it helps with new player intuition. And maybe there's an aspect that can cross over into onboarding, or more so new player retention, right? If it's easier to intuitively understand what my character is going to do, then I may like them better, like them faster, get better with them faster, and thus play the game longer. But I definitely think he uses another example of Sevarog. Sevarog's hammer is massive, giant, sledgehammer-looking thing, and Sevarog's, the majority of his abilities are magic-based abilities that do nothing with his hammer. His ultimate is the only and basic attack are the only abilities that do something with the main thing you see in his kit.
Yeah.
If I go in there and I'm like, dude, I can't wait to just like sledgehammer people, right? And then he reaches out with his other hand and just steals their soul, right? It's like, well, that's cool, but that's not what I expected. That's not
Drops some shadow magic,
right? You show somebody a picture. You show somebody a picture of Charizard from Pokemon, right? And you go, that thing, he's gonna have a flamethrower. He's gonna fire based, right? Very intuitive, very straightforward. You look at Sevarog, you go, he's got a hammer. Oh, but he uses magic. Like what? Like it just it's that slight disconnect that maybe is turning away new players or just turning away players from playing other characters in general. Mm-hmm. They think, oh, I'm a physical damage character, but I'm actually magic, or I'm a magic damage character, but I look physical. Like it's this weird disconnect in players' minds. I could definitely see that being a factor. And I would say they should change it, right? Like, I mean, that's, like you said, Mangoose, that's part of Ethereal's design. But I think it should change going forward. I don't think they should reiterate past heroes or past releases with this, because then it's just going to throw everything to the wind and it's just going to be more complicated.
That leads to what I was going to add on is I think that it's like the curse a little bit of Paragon assets, right? Like the some of this is just because that's how it was, right? Like you just can't really innovate some of those characters enough to really add in that, you know, that to remove that disconnect. Because I know for me, Bellica, I thought for sure she was a carry. When I first played Paragon back in the day, I picked her as a carry. I was like, obvious. Like, yeah. Very wrong, right? Like it was, but I was a new player, and I, you know, I eventually learned, and you know, and I do expect that players should learn and you know, and grow from it. But I will say, and we haven't quite seen it yet from Pred, but at least Overprime has shown us with Xena. She, I think, matches her aesthetic. Like her sword and her abilities all kind of go together. Her right click feels like it doesn't feel disconnected. And I think some of the changes that they made for some of the other champions have added a little bit of that. And I think it's more present in some champions versus others. But like you expect Twin Blast, right, to be a dual wielding, you know, pistol guy. All of his abilities feel, I mean, other than his grenades maybe, which are weird because they just always seem to just come out of his hands somehow, and
they do come out of his hands. It's because he has mechanical hands,
right? But it just looks weird. It doesn't, you don't see the mechanic part open up and a grenade pops out, right? Like you just,
yeah, you do if you slow it down.
Do you? No, I haven't.
Did you know that Revenant's Obliterate, where does that come from?
I don't know.
He pulls down his scarf and spits it out of his mouth.
What?
Crazy, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
How do you get the? Okay, well, whatever.
Because anyway. I go into the Unreal Engine and dick around with the assets all the time.
Oh, got you. Okay. Well, either way, I just think that the Curse of Paragon is kind of going to be, I think, present in these unless they do like a full rework of the champions, which this is something that we've talked about a little bit. I think they should. Not now. Wait a little bit, but I think if both these studios last the test of time, like I'm talking about like a year, maybe year and a half from now, 2 years from now, they should go back like League of Legends has done, and I think Smite's done it before too, and reinvent some of these old characters, give them a new facelift, like make them feel more relevant in the game that you've now designed around original IPs. But yeah, so the dissonance is tough, I think, for new players more than anything. But for returning players, for the most part, I think they're going to work through it just fine. But time to tell on Pred's, you know, IP on whether or not we'll feel like we're getting Huntress first, right? Yeah. So whether or not she feels like she matches her kit, based off what we've seen, I think she will. I think it'll be pretty obvious what
she looks like an ADC, and I think she is an ADC. Yeah. So
I think ranged characters have it a little easier, right? Bellica being the exception to that. Ranged characters should feel ranged, right? As long as they shoot things, as long as they do something like that, right? You can kind of cover up a lot of that. But when melee characters are using magic, that's when it starts to feel maybe dissociative of what their identity feels like at a glance.
Yeah.
I like how Felipe said she does 3-round bursts, but it only hits once. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think talk about original IP. I think Huntress just looks like an ADC, and she's going to be an ADC. I think they did a good job there. Adele has a shield that just screams tank, and we know that Adele is going to be a pretty much a true engaged tank. Mako, I don't know if he really screams support to me, but What the fuck does he scream?
I think the common thing with supports is little and cute.
Yeah.
Right. So you see like Mako being a little and cute creature, fine. Right. Like you go like if you look at other MOBAs, there's a lot of little cute supports comparatively to little cute like downright beasts that are just smashing down other people. Right. Like that's kind of the small and weak support kind of thing fits together.
I mean, I disagree, but I see what you're saying.
Oh, Mullah brings up a good point.
Examples than you can give me.
It is harder with futuristic design because, like, what does a mage look like in the future? And I think
100%. But I think there's ways that you can do that. Bellica's rifle, right? Make her SMG look like it uses some kind of magical energy, right? And then you tie it into her a little bit better, right? There are plenty of ways that even subtly you can make that more cohesive feeling rather than just I use an SMG and then I suddenly bash my fist into the ground and a wave of earthquake comes out from it. Like
right, that doesn't do physical damage; it does magic damage to you, even though you're being launched up with rocks. It's weird.
I also think these games need to have more splash arts. I think the splash arts do a lot of work in explaining what a character can do at a glance before someone plays them. Right,
videos.
Both of these games have just pure either portrait shots or maybe a profile shot of these characters, and I don't think that does enough to explain what's going on. Whereas like if you like Bellica, we'll use Bellica again as the instance. If I looked at Bellica's splash, right, and I see a drone in the background, I go, oh, she has a drone of some kind that she can put out on the ground that saps mana or explodes or whatever it's going to do, right? I know then have some kind of cognitive recognition of there's something more to her than just her SMG, right? Whereas if I just look at her model, she just has an SMG and that doesn't tell me anything about her abilities.
Big trip. Yeah, I mean a pistol that does more damage because you're missing mana. I think there's like some things you just can't fully innovate or make extremely obvious, but Bellic is probably the biggest one. Like that seems super kind of like, what is your identity? Like who are you and what are you and why do you do the things you do? It doesn't always make sense or add up.
I think Bellica and Aurora,
yeah, a little weird. I think OP's Aurora does a little bit better of a job, like with some of it, but it's still not super great. It's still lacking.
I think sprint mode helps because she spawns her sword out of nothing. That can tell you the effect of.
She looks like she's trying to do a Sith choke the whole time she's running. She's like, oh,
ready to just
Well, let's start wrapping things up. That was all the questions that we had. I did the light bulb moment I had earlier when we were talking about overprime portals. I was thinking about Yin because Yin could always lash to her friends. What if she lashes to somebody as they're going through the portal? Will Yin also go
face bash into Prime Spirit Pit?
But still, you're getting two people through the portal.
Yeah, effectively.
Two friendlies.
So there is benefit, especially with Yin being able to go to allies, because great. So she goes to Prime Spirit or Mini Prime Pit, and there's another portal right there that she can then take on the other side. So,
oh shit. All right, well, let's start wrapping things up. I think that was a really fun episode.
Yeah,
we're not going to do them on Mondays from now on. We haven't changed nights. It's always going to be Sundays, but just this time we had to postpone it today. But I think Jedi, any final comments before we head out? And where can people find you? What are you doing?
I've kind of taken another little hiatus from streaming, mostly just because I feel like every time I was streaming these games, I was just raging and grumpy, and I don't want to put out that kind of content. And some of that's on me. Like I've been taking the grind and ranked a little too serious, I think, and getting really grumpy that I can't play on West Coast because those servers are using the word dead. I think they are fairly dead. West Coast feels dead as F. But no, I just want to give a huge shout out to the people who quickly got in. And because I made the changes in the FTM, put out a small little announcement, and we got like huge engagement, right? Oh, bigger than I expected engagement, I should say, off of the question. So thank you guys, those of you who put in the questions. It really means a lot to us to get that. But yeah, now everybody, if you want to go to the Discord, should be linked below. And if you have questions for us and you want us to read them out like we did on here, give you a little shout out, please do so. Obviously, the intention is not to create a discussion in that channel necessarily. It's more just so we can see the questions you guys think are important. Do keep it obviously appropriate, because we're not going to just read whatever question blindly, so don't be dumb. But there
you go. I guess Jelly was done.
He clicked something. he must have clicked something on accident and it just left us.
He said, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah, so that's all I got. I think I'm really stoked. I did hit gold this last week, so kudos to me. Let's go. But no, that's all I got. You can still follow me on Twitter. It's still an active website, so if you want to do that, but yeah, that's all.
Jellies.
Not much, just follow me on YouTube and Twitch, and yeah. What about you, Magus?
Got a Grux video from Predecessor coming out tomorrow. I haven't been playing Pred a lot, but I need to get into Pred a bit more and get some more content out for Pred, so I'm trying to do that. Again, the FTM Discord, it's no longer my Discord, it's now the FTM Discord. I even changed the icon today, so profile pic, whatever the fuck you call it. And put that question in the Discord, Blood Hunter. But I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Like I said, really fun episode. I need to get back into doing the timestamps. I don't know why I stopped on that, but I need to get back into it. But if you're still watching this on the stream, if you're still hanging in there with us, get some mangeese in the chat. It would be much appreciated. And if you're watching this in the video format, I appreciate that as well. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. This is the For the Minions crew signing off. You guys